Hello, I'm Mike Grosso, author of I Am Drums and member of the Fall 15ers blogging group. I put my back up against the wall apparently this month because time has run out for me to write my monthly blog post for Fall 15ers. So what I decided to do, and it works out perfectly in a way because what I wanted to write about was time anyways. So I decided that I'm going to do my first video blog. Even though I don't find myself very photogenic or charming, I'm going to hope that maybe that changes this time around. So I'm doing this in one take. It's going to be probably a little sloppy, but in a way that's kind of the point, because what I wanted to write about in the first place was the most common question that I am asked ever since I landed a book deal. The number one question I'm asked all the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time, it's probably even more so often than what is your book about, is people ask me, where do you find the time to write? And it's an interesting question. One, because it's asked all the time, and two, because it's actually the wrong question, which I'll get to in a second. Now, the first thing I want to say is that when I'm asked this question, most often it's done very respectfully. I'm an elementary school teacher, so other elementary school teachers will ask me because they look at this humongous plate they have, this humongous plate of work that they have to get done while school is in session, and they cannot fathom how I ever find time having the same sort of work schedule and the same sort of workload that they do, that I would find time to write. So that's a very good question and that I'd like to answer. It's also sometimes asked by people who are not teachers but understand the mania we go through during the school year and just can't figure out where I find the patience to do that, on top of also being a parent as well, being a father. So, and then every once in a while, it's not very often, but every once in a while, it verges out of respectful, and instead of asking, where do you find time to write, they ask, where do you find time to write? As though, and there's a little implication of it, something where they say, oh, well, you must be taking that time away from somewhere else. You must be slacking on something else. And I want to make sure that people understand what that question means, and most importantly, that it is the wrong question. The first thing about time that's important to keep in mind is that you can't find it anywhere. It's not loose change in your couch. It's not something that you dig through your couch cushions and, oh, I found time. It's not something where if I took this camera and pointed in the right direction, oh my God, there'd be time in the background. So the very idea that you can find time is incorrect. I really would like to argue that. Time is something you make. So I don't find time to write, I make time to write. Now, before you think I sound like some awful motivational speaker, let me make it clear that yes, a lot of the time, every single person in the world has a very hefty schedule. Every single person in the world has a hard time finding time to write. And a lot of people say, oh, if I just had the time, if I just didn't have so many things on the plate, I wish I could find it. Well, no matter who you are, you have to make time to write if that's your thing. And if you're not going to make time to write, then I would argue that perhaps maybe being an author is not what you're destined to be. It's the sort of thing where if you love it and it really is a part of what you need to do, I think you're going to make time for it. And if you're not currently making time for it and you don't really feel like that's the right thing, then maybe now's the time where you've got to start making time for it. Just to give you an example. All right. There's a show you've probably heard of called Game of Thrones. I have seen precisely 0 episodes of this show. I will probably never see any episodes of this show. Why have I not seen any episodes of it? Because every time that show comes on, I make the question, do I invest myself in the time required to catch up with all my friends in the show, or do I do something else that right now is more important? And this is not to, come down on Game of Thrones. I also have not seen Mad Men. I have not seen a plethora of other shows that tons of other people have seen, and I've just made the decision at some point in time that right now I'm going to make time to write, or right now I'm going to make time to play with my son, or right now I'm going to make time to grade papers and or plan for tomorrow's class. It really just depends on what you're deciding to do. And that's why I say, when you say find time, if you're waiting to find time, you're never going to find it. It's never going to be anywhere. You just have to simply make time. There's a phrase that I've heard a lot of people say, which is butt in chair time. And that's really where you take yourself and you plant yourself in a chair and you don't let yourself get out of that chair until you've done the amount of work that you find to be acceptable. And until that's done, button and share. So that's just something I want to talk about today. It's probably not as eloquent as if I had written it out. But once again, the reason I did this video blog is that I have basically taken about 5 minutes to do it. I would have taken at least 10 times as much of that to write, edit, and possibly, put together a blog post that I thought explained my thoughts. So once again, this sloppily done, not very well shot, and not very eloquent video blog is me showing you how I am going to make time to turn off this video and maybe read some more of Lance's book. It's great. I suggest you read it too. Or maybe work on some revisions I'm doing for my agent, or maybe work on the next book that's in process right now. I think it's got about 8,000 words, and that's not enough. It's not done. So until it's done, I have to choose to make time for it. I am not going to watch Game of Thrones. I'm not going to watch Mad Men. And even though I'm in the middle of the season, I'm not going to watch the last 3 episodes of 12 Monkeys, because I'm probably never going to finish that show. Sorry, Sci-Fi Network. It's not going to happen. Other than that, thank you for watching. I hope it wasn't too terrible. Have a great day.